A long time ago, an apothecary travels from one village to another, offering help wherever he can. One day he treats the wounds of a young child. The child thanks him and runs off to play. The apothecary, meanwhile, pulls out a shopping list from his pouch and starts checking what he needs to buy. Half the items look like ancient spells rather than groceries. Just then, the owner of the local pawn bazaar calls out to him with curiosity in his eyes. As he walks into the shop with him, the owner tells him that he has something to show, something important. His tone suggests he's about to reveal a treasure, but our MC feels like he's walked into a very legal version of Antiques Roadshow. And just then he comes to know that it's not an object but a person. When the shopkeeper opens the door to his storeroom, he is stunned. Sitting inside is a girl, her condition horrifying. Her ears have been pierced brutally, her eyes fixed in one spot, her body covered in scars. She is not an ordinary girl. She is an elf, and it's clear she has been treated cruelly and then abandoned. The pawn bazaar owner explains that he's heard rumors. Elf bodies are used as rare ingredients in certain remedies. He asks Mr. Apothecary what he thinks of this. He steps closer for a proper inspection and makes a gentle glow appear on his fingertip and raises it near her face. He notices her hands are soft, but her fingernails are ripped off. Her teeth are missing. There is no response in her eyes and her left eye is physically gone. He calls out to her but she doesn't respond. He soon realizes there is a hole in her ear, likely why she cannot hear. The apothecary starts to think. If her body is this damaged, perhaps her internal organs are also failing. If she isn't treated soon, she might not survive. Just then, a trembling voice escapes her lips. She says she wants to go home. Tears fall from her eyes. He stands there shocked. Her broken condition is too much to bear. The shopkeeper asks what the healer plans to do. He even offers the elf for a cheap price, suggesting that if he won't take her, someone else will. But he speaks firmly. He won't let her die here. He decides to take her with him, hoping that maybe this small act will give her some hope. When he asks for a carrying backpack to carry the elf, the owner hands over something so dusty. He briefly wonders if it has its own ecosystem. Once he gets it, he wraps the elf gently in cloth to keep her steady and safe, then straps her onto his back. As he walks out of the village toward the mountains, he can't stop wondering how she ended up like this. What happened to her? He straps the backpack securely and thinks to himself, she was treated like an object used far too much. As he climbs upward, he keeps talking to her to keep her from feeling alone. Climbing the mountain with the elf strapped to his back, he mutters to himself that this seems more like leg day. He tells her there's a shortcut ahead and that they'll reach home sooner. But the elf gives no response apart from the sound of her breathing. The healer grows tense. Carrying her for this long has exhausted him. He decides they'll rest here for the night and complete the journey in the morning. He gently sets her down and tells her he's going to remove her clothes to treat her wounds. But the elf refuses and mumbles her desire to go home. He doesn't insist. Instead, he starts preparing food. As he turns to look at her, something in her eyes glows. He recognizes the expression. It's as if she senses the forest. Elves, he knows, are closely connected to forests. He continues cooking and tries to make the food soft so she can chew it easily. As the aroma spreads, the elf sniffs the food suspiciously, as if deciding whether it's dinner or another cruel prank from the universe. And our dude realizes her sense of smell is working. When the food is ready, he brings a spoon to her lips. She reacts slowly and spits the first bite out, probably because it's too hot. He cools the food carefully and manages to feed her. He asks if she likes it. As she shows the tiniest smile, he nearly drops the spoon, overwhelmed either from joy or the cramp in his leg from crouching too long, and he understands she is content. After feeding her, he wipes her mouth clean. Yet the wounds on her face remain visible. Night deepens. Mr. Apothecary lays her down gently, but then he hears her groan in pain. He quickly checks and realizes she has a high fever. Her body is exhausted, likely from the wounds or perhaps an internal infection. None of that matters now. What matters is that he needs to treat her immediately. He begins preparing medicine using ingredients from his pouch, mixing them carefully. He helps her drink it, forcing her gently. She swallows it. As she lies down, her eyes slowly close. Before falling asleep, she seems to wonder where she is. He places a wet cloth on her forehead and hopes she'll feel better by morning. Soon she falls into a peaceful sleep. Mr. Apothecary sits near the fire and begins to think. He promises himself he will heal her, that she will go back home no matter what. He knows it's an unrealistic hope, but he Wants to help her because those responsible for her pain are people from his own race, her Tanas. They are among the top 5 powerful races, now divided into districts. But to him, race is nothing more than differences in culture and appearance. He knows not everyone sees things the same way. The Ponbazer owner, for instance, kept the elf like an abandoned item. And worse, the monster who did this to her doesn't even deserve to be called a person. He wonders, was it even a person who did this or some other power? Suddenly, mysterious souls begin circling him. Panic floods his mind. His hands are covered in blood and in his ears the word murderer echoes again and again. Everything starts to fade and a strange light appears. Then he snaps back to reality. It was all just a dream. He opens his eyes and sees that the elf is awake. There's a spark in her eyes. She looks at him with half-opened eyes and he smiles gently, wishing her good morning. He tells her he'll carry her for a bit longer. He senses her fever is gone, but her treatment must continue. He silently promises to fulfill her wish of going home. Whatever it takes, he'll do it. He wants to heal her to help her return to the life she once had. He knows the process will take time, but she will recover. He notices that her wounds are not just physical. Her heart is broken too. He doesn't know who she used to be, but he wants to give her a name filled with hope. One name comes to his mind. Ryur. It means rebirth, and that is what he wants for her. Naming her Treasurer feels dramatic, but he tells himself it sounds better than Backpack Girl, which had been the working title in his head. He gently holds her hand and silently makes a promise. A spark shines in Ryur's eyes. As he prepares breakfast, he tells her that they'll reach their destination soon. While cooking, he softly calls her by her new name and then tells her the food is ready. He then carries Rasher on his back and tells her softly that they've reached home, her new home from now on. He gently brings her inside. When he tells Rasher that this is her new home, he half expects her to complain about the lack of curtains. But she just murmurs home, which feels like a win. He nods, confirming it truly is home now. He tells her he'll prepare a bath for her. Suddenly, something clicks in his mind. He leaves Rasher there and quickly steps out to the neighboring house. When he knocks, a cheerful little girl opens the door with a bright smile. She welcomes her favorite apothecary uncle. She immediately, with the energy of festival parade and the negotiation skills of a seasoned trader, asks for sweets first. Greetings later. Mr. Apothecary apologizes with a guilty smile and says he couldn't bring any today because he was in a hurry. Just then one's mother and San appears. She gently tells Mun not to be selfish as Sensei has been busy lately. She turns to him curious about his unexpected visit. In response, he hands her a basket of fresh fruits and shyly asks for a favor. Raises an eyebrow at his shy fruit offering like he's confessing to borrowing sugar and never returning it. But after he explains everything, her expression softens. She quickly brings out some of her old clothes for him. The clothes are simple and easy to wear, just what he needs. He thanks her sincerely and leaves. Back at home, he starts warming water and prepares everything for Ryur's bath. Carefully, he removes her tattered clothes and covers her body with a clean cloth. But when he sees her face remain blank even while undressed, he feels a wave of disappointment. There is no emotion, no reaction at all. Then he notices her injuries. Tears prick his eyes as he sees the bruises and deep scars. The wounds clearly show signs of malice. Her neck bears the marks of fingers that had gripped her too tightly. The sight fills him with rage, but he controls it. Right now she needs healing, not anger. He gently washes her body and wraps her wounds. He tells himself to stay focused on her treatment. Then he carries her to another room to begin treating the more serious external injuries. He applies a homemade healing paste, thinking it might bring her some relief. He reminds himself to reapply it every 3 days. Then he picks up the clothes and Sand gave and begins dressing. This feels more nerve-wracking than bandaging a dragon. One wrong tug and he half expects to be cursed. While doing so, he finds a small woman's comb tucked in the folded clothes left there by An and her daughter. The thoughtfulness touches him. He slowly combs her hair and finishes getting her ready. In A's clothes, Rasher looks prettier than before. Her appearance already seems improved, and that gives him a little relief. Later, he prepares a simple meal for her. When he returns, he finds Ryur trembling. Worried, he wonders if she has a fever or cold again. Then it strikes him. Maybe she just needs to use the toilet. He panics like a first-time babysitter, realizing the baby didn't come with an instruction manual. Feeling guilty, he quickly carries her there and apologizes for not paying attention. He realizes that for someone like her who barely shows emotions, even this must have been deeply embarrassing. But this moment also shows him something else. Rear's sensitivity is working quite well. Afterward, he helps her eat, hoping good food might open her heart a little. But watching her struggle with only 2 molars makes him concerned. Feeding her with 2 molars proves challenging. He wonders if the gods invented soup specifically for toothless emergencies like this. He thinks a denture might help, but also worries if her ability to chew is this weak. Knows whether her internal organs are functioning properly either. Still, there's no other option. She needs care and he's all she has. He lifts her gently and places her in bed. She falls asleep almost immediately. Watching her finally rest, he feels a bit of peace, but his mind keeps turning. He starts thinking about how to truly heal her. Is there any medicine strong enough to help? That's when a thought strikes him. Eye potion. It's a secret elixir known to trigger physical regeneration. But rumors say it's made using elves. He makes up his mind to create the potion, but only using his own skills, equipment, and knowledge. He won't use anything from elves. He refuses to take such a risk. There has to be another way and he will find it. The next morning he ties a letter to his bird's leg and sends it off to a trusted doctor, hoping for a quick response. He then takes Rusher outside and sits her down in the open air, telling her silently through his actions to enjoy the surroundings. While he works nearby, he gestures toward the garden like a proud parent introducing a child to their first toy. Begins tending the garden, believing that cultivating ingredients for medicine starts with proper care. As he works, the peaceful sounds of chirping birds fill the air. Ryur slowly begins to absorb the environment, tears streaming down her face as the forest sense stirs something familiar within her. She sniffs the air again, drawn to a memory she cannot yet place. Soon the little girl one arrives. Her entrance is so cheerful it feels like a festival in the front yard. He jokingly asks if she's here to help and she playfully agrees, saying it's just for today. She runs directly to Ryur sitting beside her with curiosity. Realizing this is the same patient he had spoken about, she looks at her with wonder. He tells her the elf's name is Rizur. Mo then asks with interest if she can speak with her. He thinks it might be a good idea. Perhaps a child's kindness could help draw something out of the silent elf. So, he nods in approval. Meanwhile, the healer begins crafting a denture for Treasurer. Relying on knowledge from old books to prepare the necessary medicine, he starts crafting dentures with the seriousness of a wizard brewing a potion. Except this potion goes in someone's mouth. Back outside, Mo calls for Aji-san, confused as to why Rura won't speak. He explains that maybe Rare is still searching for a reason to communicate again. Suddenly, Mont's eyes light up with an idea. She dashes out and returns with a handmade flower crown, gently placing it on Rezur's head. Mont's flower crown looks suspiciously like it was made from everything she could reach within arm's length, but somehow it works. The crown suits her surprisingly well. He compliments Mon's skill, and in a moment of childlike innocence, Mon giggles and declares that Rear will be Mr. Apothecary's wife someday. He chokes on his own spit and mentally prepares for village gossip headlines. He panics, caught off guard, and quickly explains that Rusher is just a patient and nothing more. Mo laughs and teases him before saying goodbye and skipping off. He smiles, noticing that Rusher seems to enjoy the scent of the flowers. He thinks to himself that such small joyful moments might actually be helping her heal. Later, he brings Rusher inside for a routine checkup. He applies drops to her eyes and treats her healing wounds. At first, he cannot hear her heartbeat clearly and wonders if her large chest is interfering with the stethoscope's placement. After adjusting, he resumes the exam. Finally, he prepares to fit the dentures he has crafted. When he places them into her mouth, he feels hopeful tonight she might actually eat something properly. He prepares steak, carefully marinating it and slicing it into thin, easy-to-chew pieces. Taking one sizzling bite, he gently feeds it to Rear. She tastes it. Then unexpectedly she opens her mouth for more steak. He wonders if he should cook for all his patients, preferably the ones with fewer life-threatening collapses. Mr. Apothecary watches in amazement, telling her there's plenty more and she can eat as much as she likes. He feeds her slowly, bite by bite as she eats, tears well in her eyes, moved by the taste of real food. After what must have been a long time, he feels joy seeing her eat again, wondering aloud as she is happy. Internally, he notes that after Mont's visit, Ryur seems to be displaying a more emotional response. He begins to believe that she may soon be able to speak again. Just as everything appears to be improving, he notices red lines forming in Ryur's eyes. Her veins begin to pulse visibly and blood rushes rapidly through her body. At first, she doesn't notice while talking about making beefsteak for dinner. But suddenly Ryur collapses to the ground. Panic strikes. He rushes to her side and sees her eyes now completely bloodshot. Her body glows with a reddish hue. Her breathing turns shallow and her body shakes violently. He doesn't understand what is happening. Everything was just fine. He begins to suspect a neurotoxic venom, the kind that comes from an obsidian spider. The symptoms match perfectly, but the question remains, who could have done this? His thoughts drift toward Rier's former master, the one responsible for her past torment. But there's no time to dwell on suspicion. Right now he knows he must act fast. Every second matters if he wants to save her life. He prepares medicine for Rusher without wasting a second. He refuses to let anything else happen to her. With urgency he gives her a special mixture designed to empty her stomach. Soon after, she begins vomiting violently. Among the vomit, something strange falls out of her mouth, a small shell with a hidden pill inside. He instantly realizes this is not an ordinary object. It's a dissolvable capsule meant to stay hidden. He picks it up and studies it carefully. Strange symbols in an ancient language are etched into the pill's surface. His eyes widen in shock. This isn't a pill. It's a cursed marking. Its structure is too precise, too purposeful. He loses control of his emotions for a moment. Now everything makes sense. They use a delayed effect strategy, planting the pill inside her body to activate much later. The idea was cruelly clever. Use Rusher for a while, then leave her behind once the curse triggers. That way her abusers could escape without risk. To him this is no accident. It's a sign of malicious intent. He rushes to tell A and Mun everything. When they see Rare's condition they both grow worried. Her face has lost all color and she looks weaker than ever. Moan begins crying softly beside her. Mr. Apothecary tells him this poison is dangerous, worse than anything he has dealt with before. He has to leave immediately to prepare the antidote. A full of determination steps forward. She insists she will take care of Rier in his absence. She tells Sensei to go and focus entirely on gathering the ingredients. He scribbles instructions faster than a chicken chased by a fox. The paper barely legible but full of life-saving wisdom. What to do if condition changes. What not to do. How to keep her body stable. Before leaving, he half jokes that if she dies while he's gone, they better prepare a proper funeral. When he tells A to prepare a funeral just in case, she whacks him on the shoulder so hard that Moan jumps, clearly saying nothing like that will happen. But as she says this, she notices a spark in his eyes, a fire of resolve she hasn't seen before. She assures him that everything will be fine, but for now his only job is to make that medicine. She promises to give her best to protect Ryur. Grateful, he thanks them both and moves closer to Ryur. He gently assures her that he will cure her soon no matter what it takes. Then without delay he heads into the forest. He searches from place to place, collecting rare ingredients, mundarare root, certain earth elements, and for the final piece he must go to the cave of the venomous spider that likely caused this curse. With his hunting gear packed, he enters the dark cave, ripping his spear tightly. He enters the spider's cave with his spear, mumbling under his breath, thinking that this better be the only eight-legged freak he deals with today. It's been a long time since he used his weapons. His hands feel slightly unfamiliar with their weight. As he walks deeper, sticky webs stretch across the cave's walls. Using a small light, he navigates toward the heart of the cave. Suddenly something feels off. A strange pressure distracts him. He turns and sees the massive spider crawling dangerously close. 10 times his size, it looms in the darkness. Without hesitation he fires an arrow, but it barely affects the creature. He tightens his grip and warns the spider that he doesn't have time to play games. He draws one more arrow, deciding to give it everything. If this is the end, then so be it. He won't hold back. But again the arrow fails to pierce. For a moment, doubt creeps in. Have his old skills faded? Has he grown too soft? He knows he has no choice but to stay sharp for Arier. Calling upon his hidden ability, Charm Aruma, he infuses the next arrow with supernatural power. The air crackles. Then, with perfect aim, he releases it. As he readies his magical arrow, he mutters, "Let's hope this one actually does its job and doesn't just tickle you to death." The arrow shoots like lightning, slicing through the air and striking the spider directly. The beast crashes to the ground with a thunderous thud. He doesn't pause. He fires more enchanted arrows rapidly, weakening the spider's body with each hit. Finally, with his dagger drawn, he approaches the fallen creature. With one powerful strike, he slashes its belly open and collects the venom he needs. Now with all the ingredients ready, he turns back toward home. There's no time to waste. Rier's life depends on him. Mr. Apothecary prepares the medicine using the venom he collected from the spider. He carefully mixes the ingredients, checking every step with precision. Once the potion is ready, he fills a siren and moves toward Rear. A and Mun stand nearby, silently watching as the needle pierces her skin. Rear flinches. The pain only adds to her suffering. He gently asks her to stay calm, though his own heart aches at the sight. Mon, still sobbing beside Rhaegar, declares she'll never forgive spiders again. Not even cartoon ones. Night falls. He doesn't leave her side, keeping constant watch. Hours pass in silence until he finally notices a change. Rusher begins to stir. She is still in pain, but her breathing stabilizes. The redness on her body fades slightly. Signs of improvement become clearer. It seems the worst part of the curse is fading. When Rear blinks at the ceiling, he beams like a proud parent at a school play. If the play had involved vomiting curses and near-death experiences. He holds her hand softly and tells her through his eyes that everything will be all right. Inwardly, however, he remains concerned. He knows the agony she endured is not something anyone can easily recover from. Her body may be healing, but she has survived a phase of pain that could have broken anyone. To Ryur, Mr. Apothecary's voice feels like a guiding light in deep dark water. Every sound from him pulls her back toward the surface. Slowly her eyes begin to open. Light returns to them. She becomes conscious again, blinking toward the ceiling. She responds faintly to the light above. Seeing this, he breaks into a relieved smile and leans closer. She tries to speak, but her voice fails her. Still, her eyes glisten with tears. Tears of hope. He feels a quiet joy rising within him. Finally, she is responding. She is here. He observes her closely and asks softly if she can see things clearly yet. Rhaegar blinks again and slowly shakes her head.